What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. This is part of a series where I focus on Academy Award Best Picture nominees and rank them by each year. Did previously 2000, 2022, and also the last video that I did was 1990 Academy Award Best Picture nominees. This time, next up, you guys clicked this video so you know it. I'm doing 1991 Academy Award Best Picture nominees and ranking them from worst to best. Now here's the thing. 1991, there was 5 Academy Award Best Picture nominees, so I'll be ranking them from 5 being the worst to 1 being the best, and of course, my humble opinion. And I'll be very curious to hear your guys' ranking down below. But guys, enough exposition. Let's get started. So kicking things off, number 5, we have The Prince of Tides. I was not a fan of this movie, and truthfully, that is a huge disappointment. Like, yes, I gave it, I think, a 2.5 out of 5, which means I felt mixed about it, but it was also kind of a disappointment because before watching the movie, I actually read the premise, and the premise does sound very interesting, especially with how it's essentially tackling someone who is burying his emotions. He is someone that's burying them to the point of where someone has to try to figure out how to bring those to the surface. And that's a very, very intriguing premise. Unfortunately, it's more so focused on the actual romance, and that is just something that I could do without. It was a snooze fest in that regards. But when it does focus on the actual drama of someone trying to actually bring to surface their emotions, it was interesting, for sure. But I do feel mixed about this, and I do think it's well acted, but for the most part, it's pretty forgettable, other than just like, oh wow, this was a missed opportunity. But it's my number 5. Next up, my number 4 is Bugsy. So Bugsy, I actually watched the director's cut. And I will say this right off the bat, I watched it shortly after The Prince of Tides. And the first half of Bugsy, I was like, oh no, this is going to be just like The Prince of Tides, where I see so much potential, but it's kind of a mixed bag. But Bugsy gets better as it goes along. It does. In fact, the second half, I will say, is really, really good. Like, really good, to the point of where it makes me actually want to revisit this movie, and in hopes of that maybe I'll appreciate the first half more. But one of those situations where first half, second half, really, really good. Very well acted, incredible costume design, production design, cinematography. Maybe this will get a Blu-ray or 4K release down the line, but unfortunately right now it's just on DVD. Yeah, it's my number 4. Next up, my number 3, we have, I almost forgot that I owned this, but my number 3 is Beauty and the Beast. So the reason why I forgot that I almost owned this is because it wasn't really one of those situations where I went on eBay and I was like, you know what, I'm going to buy Beauty and the Beast. This is where I'm going to be a nerd physical media collector. So I wanted to buy Moulin Rouge. Specifically, I wanted to buy Moulin Rouge on Blu-ray with the slipcover. So I went on eBay and I saw that a lot of them were $20 plus in terms of buying it with both as well as brand new. But I saw that someone was selling Moulin Rouge Blu-ray with the slipcover, brand new. But it also came with Beauty and the Beast, Zootopia, and a slew of others. And it was only for I think it was like $10. So I immediately was like, you know what? Screw it. I don't care if it comes with these other movies. I'm going to get this. And I did. So I own Beauty and the Beast now. All that said, I do like Beauty and the Beast. I do think that it's one of those things, too, where them remaking it in 2017 just goes to show that this is a movie that can only be done through animation. Because when you watch the remake, it's like, this is not good in the slightest. But when you watch this original, it's magical, man. It really is a well-crafted film. It is very interesting, though. I will say that it got nominated for Best Picture over something like, say, Terminator 2. But this is a good film. I can definitely see why many people love it. And I do have to say, it might not be my favorite animated film, but it is a film that I do appreciate and I do respect. And that's why I'm not complaining that I own it on Blu-ray. I am looking forward to revisiting it soon. And yeah, I like Beauty and the Beast. That's why it's my number 3. Next up, my number 2. I'm going to be a nerd again. Yeah, I'm going to be a nerd again. My number 2 is JFK. The reason why I said I'm going to be a nerd again is that JFK is one of my favorite films. I absolutely love JFK, but I've never pulled the trigger and bought the physical media for it. The reason being is because the Blu-ray is either very expensive or it's out of print, or both, sometimes. So I'm crossing my fingers, hoping that it gets a 4K release or a reissue of the Blu-ray, in which case, when it does, I'll be picking it up right away. But as it stands, I don't own JFK, which is a shame because I do absolutely love this film. The editing, the way that this runtime flies by, it's over 3 hours. and yet I never feel the length when I watch this movie. Every single time, I'm just blown away at how well edited this film is. Love the cinematography, the usages of different stocks is really effective. John Williams' score, every single performance is great. One of my favorite Gary Oldman performances, just an overall great film. Is it realistic? No, but the fact that they're able to really hook you line and sinker with a conspiracy theory, and by the end you'll be like, yeah, I think I kind of believe that. That is the power of filmmaking, and that's the power of Oliver Stone's directing. If number one didn't come out, I would have said, give JFK Best Picture. I would have. But here's the thing. My number one came out. And my number one is, you probably guessed it because of the shirt, but my number one is The Silence of the Lambs. I love The Silence of the Lambs. I really do. I think it's an excellent film. It's a masterpiece, one of my all-time favorite films. It's kind of funny, though, because when I first saw it, I actually said that JFK should have won Best Picture over Silence of the Lambs. But then I watched Silence of the Lambs a couple more times, and I was like, no. Silence of the Lambs winning Best Picture was the right call. It's an excellent film. It's a masterclass in blending genres, pacing, just the way it's able to get the best performances out of these actors. I mean, the directing by Jonathan Demme is really, really something. Howard Shore's score, every single aspect of the filmmaking comes together to create a film that not only is important, delving into really interesting themes and messages, but also very entertaining and has a high rewatchability value. I love this film. One of my all-time favorite films. It's in my top 25 for crying out loud of all time. But yeah, I love Silence of the Lambs. That's why it's my number one. Now, just like with my previous video, I will say this. 1991, I think, was a really good year in terms of the Best Picture nominees. But what's also just incredible is that Silence of the Lambs, I feel like, would have been one of those films that, if in retrospect people looked back at the year 1991, they would have been like, oh, Silence of the Lambs, that should have won Best Picture. But the fact that Silence of the Lambs actually won Best Picture is just an incredible feat, because it's a horror film. Horror thriller, specifically. That's also a genre film, no less, because a lot of times the Academy doesn't give genre films Best Picture. So the fact that that occurred is just, it's a win in my book. I'm really, really happy to see that Silence of the Lambs won Best Picture. It is one of the best examples of the Academy getting it right. I love Silence of the Lambs. I love how that year panned out in terms of the Oscar wins. And yeah, although I will say I do think Terminator 2 should have gotten a Best Picture nomination. But that's just me. But anyways, guys, 1991, let me know your ranking down below on these movies, as well as just your thoughts in general on Silence of the Lambs. Very curious to hear your guys' thoughts. And as always, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, follow me down on Letterboxd, and I will catch you guys later.